Hello buddy, welcome back to the channel. I've got my new friend Greg here, and we're in an undisclosed location above Darwin in the mountains. I can't tell you how beautiful it is up here. You can see Apple Island in the background back there. It's probably at least 10 to 15 degrees cooler up here in the mountains than it is down where I live in Bekong. And Greg is building his dream house with his lovely wife Wilma up here on this mountainside, and we're going to be going into that later and showing you the space that he's building, and we're going to be following along as he's building this house over the next several months. And he's going to tell us about the process and all the details about what it takes to buy property and build a house in the Philippines. But first of all, Greg, you know, where are you from originally?
Originally, I was born and raised in upstate New York,
Okay.
about 60 miles north of Manhattan.
So you're a New Yorker, and you're married to a Filipina, and now you met your wife in America, right?
I did.
And how long ago was that?
We met actually in 1999.
Wow.
Where we worked for the same company.
Huh. So she was in America, and what was she doing there?
She actually was previously married
Okay.
to an American, and she got a divorce, and we met at work.
How nice is that? And you've been together all this time, and so you both retired from your jobs?
We did.
And
we did.
So the decision to come to the Philippines and live here, is that something that you have been thinking about for a long time, or a recent decision, or what was your thought process where you're retired and you've got children too that are grown, right?
We do, yes.
And so to leave them and come to the Philippines and start a whole new life here, tell me a little bit about, what brought that decision along.
Yeah, that was a big decision. So, my wife's dream was to build a home for her parents.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the early 2000s, when we first met, she decided to build a home in Leyte. She's originally from the Leyte Island.
Mm-hmm.
So what she did was she sent money over every month and built that home for her parents. And we had a wing on that house where we had a bedroom and a master bath. And the plan at that time, back in the early 2000s, was we would stay in the U.S. and just basically travel here to the Philippines every 3 or 4 years. And that's what we did. I think we visited first time in 2004 to see the house. It was completed.
That was the first time you'd ever been to the Philippines?
Very first time.
Wow.
2004. And I really did fall in love right away. We typically stayed about 3 weeks because of the demand of the job. We couldn't break away more than that. But we were here in 2004. I think we came back in 2007, 2010. And, same story each time was we'd be here for about 3 weeks and did a couple days in Manila, but primarily in Leyte because that's where my wife's family's from, and she was able to visit with her family.
Now, how did you decide, of all those 7,000 islands here, how did you decide that Negros was the island you wanted to live on here in Negros Oriental?
Well, this property just fell into our lap. When we retired in July of 2021, obviously we moved to Leyte. That's where my wife's family's from, and we stayed in the house for a few months, and we had a great time, and we decided, we're going to buy a piece of property in Leyte. That was the plan. We were going to buy a nice parcel and build our dream home in Leyte. So we met up with a couple realtors and looked at some property, and we just didn't find anything that we liked. So as the restrictions came off with COVID, we said, well, why don't we start branching out and looking at other islands? So that's what we did. We started with Cebu, did the same thing, met up with a couple realtors, looked at some land. We went to Bohol, Panguil Island, and then we ended up here in Negros, and primarily because of YouTubers like yourself who live in this area, and we wanted to come and visit. So we got a chance to see Cebu and Bohol. It was nice. But we also, at the same time, was looking at land. And we came here in the first time in March for a week of this year and looked for property, didn't find anything. And then we came back in April, and then we found this piece up here in Darwin, and we fell in love with it immediately. And we made a bid on it, and now it's ours.
Well, you know, it's just such a spectacular view, and you're going to have a pool and glass all in the front of the house. We'll be showing more of that later on, but you know, you just think of if you were to build a house or find a piece of property equivalent to this, say, you know, in California or Hawaii or even anywhere in the Caribbean, I mean, it would just be outrageously expensive.
$1 million view.
Yeah.
So that would
$1 million
equate
view.
in the U.S. or a lot of countries as $1 million piece of property.
Well, something else that people can't tell is like, I don't know what it is about where we're situated right now, but there's this lovely cool breeze and it's nonstop. It was here yesterday, and you come up here and it's just so cool and refreshing, and the smell of the jungle and the flowers and everything. It's just really, it's going to be a dream to live up here.
Yeah, when we came up here, Mark, and we looked at this piece of property for the first time, and we must have looked at 60, 70 parcels of land.
Oh, wow.
We looked at a lot, and when we came up here with the realtor and got out of the car and walked up onto the property, we both looked at each other, my wife and I, and said, "This is the one." We knew it right away, and I'm glad that we got a chance to buy it.
So you definitely wanted to live up on the mountain. You didn't want to live in town. You didn't want to live on the beach. You wanted to be at a higher elevation, right?
We wanted an overlooking view. We wanted a view of the ocean, and primarily because it's just beautiful. But also, like you mentioned, it's got to be 10 degrees cooler up here.
At least.
Has to be, and you get that nice breeze off the ocean, even though we're a few miles from the ocean.
Well, you're gonna breeze off the mountain too. There's a huge, like, what you can't see is behind me is a beautiful mountains. You know, so you've got the ocean in one view, and then behind the house you have the beautiful mountains, so you've got two views.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that there's not more houses up here.
Yeah.
I mean, there is quite a few lots for sale, but it was amazing to us to say, I mean, this is paradise. Like you said, you got the beautiful ocean view, and then you turn around and you got the mountain views. We're very happy.
Well, you know, I've had lots of guys talk about building houses here, buying property here, and you know, on my videos I've always said it's something I personally wouldn't do because I found it too complicated, and then with the laws and stuff, you can't really own something if you're just a foreigner. What advice do you have for a guy like yourself who's retired and can afford it financially, but they want to build a house here? You got to be careful, right? You got to know what you're doing, because we know friends of ours who've bought property and they couldn't get clear title, or they bought property and turns out that the access road is not their road and they don't even have access to their own property. It's not like in America where the law is that if you sell a piece of property, you have to provide access. You know, you can sell an island of property, and if there's no way there, you know, you really are kind of, you know, it's almost worthless.
You got to be careful. I guess my first bit of advice was make sure you're married to the Filipina before you make the investment. Now, that's me.
I think that's really good advice. I mean, so if you were just had a girlfriend and you were living together, you would advise don't buy property, don't build it.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. It's too risky.
Yeah.
Like you know, everyone knows, I'm sure, that the property can't be in a foreigner's name. It has to be in the Filipina's name. So to me, that's too big of a risk. So you have to make sure that the person you're buying property with, you know, that needs to be a long-term marriage.
Yeah, like you've been married for over 20 years, so you've got a solid relationship, and so these guys that just meet a girl, get married, and buy a piece of property, build a house, they're the ones that are really taking a risk.
You're taking a chance. I mean, it may work out great.
It may work out, but you know.
It may be fantastic. I personally wouldn't do it. Like you said, I've been married 21 years, and you know, we're going to be together forever. And you know, to me, it was worth the risk.
And so, there's got to be, you know, some challenges and stresses. Like, I guess you told me yesterday that you're up here pretty much every day supervising this, which can't be easy. I mean, out in the hot sun, watching these guys working, and we'll be going up there later on and filming some of that, but they're making phenomenal progress here. And you said it's only been, what, about 2 weeks?
Yeah. I was told in Leyte and here as well that the typical house takes about 12 months to build. We interviewed 4 different contractors, and 3 of the 4 said about 12 months. One actually said 18 months to build a home. And then when we met the contractor here, he basically left it up to us. He said, you know, if you put one crew of, you know, 6 to 8 guys, it could take a year. But if you doubled up on the crew, because he has the manpower, you could build it as little as 6 months. And that's what we're going for. And today is actually day 11 of construction. We did have 7 days of excavation and 2 days of land clearing. But the actual building of the house and the pool and the fence, we're on day 11. And you get a chance to see that video of the progress. It's pretty amazing. Now we have 17 guys on site. So that's 2 full crews. So they're making quick work of it. They're doing a great job.
Now, how does it work like in America? I've never built a house, so I don't know the answer to this. But in America, my understanding is that, like, say you're gonna buy a house or build a house, you get like a construction loan, and you borrow so much money, you buy the property. Like here, so you buy the property first. I assume you pay cash for that. And then as far as the house, how does that go? Is there like a loan involved, or are you just making payments like so much per month, or how does it work? How do you pay for the house? And then when it's done, do you have a mortgage? Do you have a paid for house? Like, how does it work here in the Philippines?
The way it works here, it's a cash society. We paid for the property up front. Once we did the proper checks, making sure that the title was clear, the taxes was paid, we went out and got a good attorney. So we didn't hand over any money till our attorney told us everything was good. The property here is owned by a foreigner's wife from Canada. This is a subdivision, so another concern is making sure that the subdivision is approved with a municipal, because I heard some horror stories where people buy property and then the subdivision is not approved, and it may take 6 months, a year, 2 years to get that subdivision approved, and you can't build on that property until the approvals are in. So we knew what we needed to do because of my wife's house in Leyte, and we did a lot of research on YouTube, and we talked to a lot of people and really got to understand the Philippine law. And we went out and got an attorney, and that took a few weeks to make sure everything was good. And then once you pay for the property, you get your deed of sale. My name is on the deed, and then we also put things on the deed where we have access to the property. That's all written in the deed to protect yourself. That was what our lawyer asked us to do, and we thought that was really good. And then once you have that deed, you can now go to municipal and apply for the necessary permits. You have to have a permit for the home. If you're building a fence around your property, that's a second permit. And then we're happening to build a pool as well, that's a third permit. So there's actually 3 permits that you need. And we applied for them, and Darwin has been fantastic. The people at the municipal hall has been nothing but terrific. And we got our permits in a couple of weeks. And then once you get your permits, you can start the process of constructing your home.
Now, in the Philippines, they have things like homeowners insurance and flood insurance, and we're living basically on the side of a volcano here. So there are earthquakes. I've had more earthquakes here than any place I've ever lived, like more than in California. Fortunately, not bad earthquakes, but literally, it is a volcanic area. And then, of course, you got the typhoons. Do they have that here in the Philippines, like where you can get insurance on your house?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't think so. That's something that we'll, obviously look into. But I believe, that's the risk that you take when you build a home here in the Philippines.
Another question, and kind of a morbid question, but just kind of passed my mind. Like the property in the house has to be in your wife's name, right?
Correct.
Okay, so let's say something would happen to Wilma, and you still have the house. How would that affect you legally if, like, she's not in the picture anymore?
My name is on the deed.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to we're going to have a will, and she's going to will the property to me. So if she does happen to pass before me, now she's younger than me, so hopefully that's never going to happen. But if it does, since my name is on the deed, that I'm an heir of that property, and then our son in the U.S. Would also be an heir. So we would basically share the property 50-50, my son and myself.
So there is a way to own a piece of property in your name if you're a foreigner, if something would happen to your spouse.
Correct.
That's like a loophole almost.
Correct. If your name is on the deed and you have a will.
Okay, yeah. Because there's a gentleman that I know that built a house up on the mountain near the Japanese shrine with his wife, and she was way younger than him, like 30, 40 years younger, but she got cancer and passed away, and they didn't have any children, and now her family is trying to take the property and house away from him, even though he paid for the house and paid for the property and everything. And there's a actual court battle going on where they're saying that the house should go to them.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, so these things, there's, you know, all these little, you know, nuances here of the laws in the Philippines. And I've heard they're trying to, that with the new president, they're talking about actually changing the laws here when it comes to owning property and it comes to opening businesses here in the Philippines to make it more better for foreigners, you know, make it more, you know, that they can actually own something instead of having to have like a Filipino own the majority of the property, the majority of the business.
And that would be great if they did
Yeah.
do that, because that would be good for the economy.
I think
you would
so,
think
too.
more people would, you know, there's probably a lot of guys out there that says, you know what, I'd just rather rent than to risk that. And if they change the laws, I think that would be a good thing. I think that would bring a lot of money into the Philippines and there'd be a lot more home building.
Yeah. Let's go back to your decision again to come here. Like, you know, New York is such a great place. I know you didn't live in New York City, but when you're living by New York, I mean, anything you want, the culture, the history, the, you know, the restaurants, you know, all the different things that are available there in New York and in America. And to give all of that up and come to another country that's, you know, a developing country, and you know, a lot of the things that you may have gotten used to as far as amenities and food and things like that, you can't get here, or they're difficult to get here. When you and your wife sat down, you both agreed that, okay, we'd rather live in the Philippines. We don't want to live in America anymore. Like, what was your reason for deciding, you know, you don't want to live, because you have got family back there. Why would you decide do you want to live here instead? Like, what was some of the main factors that made you come to that decision?
Great question, and it's a rather long answer.
Oh, we got time.
But when we came back from the visit in 2010, we had such a great time. And I fell in love with the Philippines. And, you know, we decided around, that's a year or two after that visit, we sat down. I turned 45, and I think it was 2012. And my wife and I had a conversation, and we had two very stressful jobs. My wife was very successful. She's an American citizen. She was in the U.S. for 28 years, married for 21. And I had a very stressful job as well. I was in retail distribution, ran several distribution centers throughout my career as a general manager, and you know, working 60-hour work weeks, 70-hour work weeks, high stress job. So when we had that conversation when I turned 45, you know, I basically said to my wife, "Can we have a 10-year plan?" And that was the conversation. So could we retire at 55? Is that possible? And at that point, we said, I think we can. So this plan of moving to the Philippines actually started in 2012. So call us planners. You know, we really thought it through. The decisions that we made from that point, 2012 all the way to 2021 when we actually moved here. Because there's another little story. We actually moved the 10-year plan to a 9-year plan. And that had to do with COVID and the pandemic. Yeah, we planned it out in 2012 and really started saving money. I mean, we knew we needed a certain amount of cash. Then, of course, our 401ks kick in at 59 and a half. And then, of course, we both will have Social Security because my wife worked, I think, about 24 years in the U.S. And I worked 35 years. In the U.S. So we'll have Social Security at 62 as well. So we planned it out, and we feel real comfortable that we'll have plenty of money to make it through.
Well, you know, there's different groups of guys I see come here. Like there's guys like myself when I came here. We all know my story, how I was in desperation mode. I came here to survive. And there's other guys who scraped together just enough money where they think they can make it, and they got their Social Security, and that's about it, and they're living on a shoestring. Then there's other guys that are wealthy and just come here, you know, and they don't have to worry about anything. And then there's people like you and your wife who have planned this out carefully, and they seem to be the ones who are the most successful when they come here, because they've thought it all out. They've got a plan. They know how much money they need. They know how much money is going to be coming in, and they made the decision. But what's interesting too is that you decided to come here not because there's anything wrong with America. You decided, you fell in love with the Philippines.
We really
and
did.
that kind of happened to me too. Like I once I got to the Philippines, all my stress just evaporated, and there's just something about this country and something about the people. And granted, it's not perfect, but for some people, it's just a life-changing experience to come here. You know, it's just something that it's hard to explain unless you've been here.
Yeah, and when we met yesterday, Mark, I was saying, you know, you say in a lot of your videos that you wake up every day and say, you know, today is going to be a great day.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many of your subscribers believe that, but I'm telling you guys, it's true. Mm-hmm. Our stress level, my wife and I, has gone from 10 to like a 2. When we wake up every day, we do say, you know, today's going to be a great day. We got a lot to look forward to. We have a great family back home that will, of course, travel back and forth from time to time. And we're focused on the house now. You know, we're here until we see that through and then get moved in and enjoy the house a little bit. You know, I have 3 sons and 2 grandkids, and you know, I have brothers and sisters home, and you know, I look forward to going back and see them. We miss them. But this is home base, and we plan on being here for the rest of our lives.
Fantastic. Now, what about possessions and stuff? Like you had mentioned to me yesterday that you shipped a bunch of things here. And where is that? You said you had like 20 boxes or something like that?
We ship 35 Balikbayan boxes.
And those cost like what, $100 each?
$100 each.
Wow.
Yeah, it took 90 days to get here. You know, my wife didn't want to sell everything, so a lot of her dishes and crystal and things like that, and her clothes. I mean, I think half the Balikbayan boxes is her clothes and shoes.
Now, where are those? Where's that stuff now?
We actually had everything in the house in Leyte.
Yeah.
But we decided to move here to keep an eye on the construction, so we rented an apartment not far from here, a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it has 3 bedrooms, so we have 1 bedroom full with 35 Balikbayan boxes.
Oh, wow. I think that's a good thing to do, though, because you can be surrounded by your own things. And in the Philippines, it is hard to find certain things,
Yeah.
you know, like especially quality, you know, like cookware, things like that. You really have to look around. So if you've got those things anyway, and you factor in, you know, $100 for a big box, unlimited weight too, right?
It's
Show us how
unlimited.
big the box is.
Oh, geez. The Balikbayan box has got to be 28 inches by, say, 26 by 26.
So they're all exactly the same, right?
Yeah, they're the same size. Yeah, they're pretty large. And actually, some of my items were larger. And you could take 2 Balikbayan boxes and make 1 big one. Now they're going to charge you double. They're going to charge you the 200. But I had some items that was larger than 1 Balikbayan box. So we just basically cut it down and made 1 big box, and they took it no problem.
Now, what about a larger item? Like, what if you wanted to send like a dresser or a piece of furniture? Can that same company do that for you, or you have to go somewhere else to do that?
No, they would do everything. They would move motorcycles. I was going to move my motorcycle, but it was too costly.
Yeah.
When you start talking about renting a container and filling a container full, very expensive. I think from New York to Leyte, container was 15,000 US, and that was too much. So we went.
Well, you
the
think about, you know,
Balikbayan
what it would cost to move coast to coast nowadays. Like, say you moved from New York to California or vice versa, and you had a big house, like say a 5-bedroom house, it could cost, you know, $10,000-$15,000,
or even more.
or even more.
Yeah.
And so to move a container from America all the way here, that really ain't that bad, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's depending, and I didn't want all my furniture was U.S. furniture. I want more native furniture in this house. So, you know, we were okay with just taking the smaller items. I went out and bought all brand new tools and things like that, because I watched a lot of YouTubers say, you know, they have a hard time finding good quality tools here, things
That's
like
true,
that. So, you know, I went out and bought a whole bunch of drills and all you name it, I bought it, and packaged it up. So we brought a lot of the items that the YouTubers told us to bring.
Exciting. So you think you'll be in the house in like, what, 6 months then, huh?
Yeah, I just had a meeting with the contractor last week, and he said that you know, we're knocking on 30 days in, and he felt pretty confident. Now, obviously, if there's a typhoon, we really hit a real bad rainy season, there could be some delays. But he sees the property being built in about 5 months from today.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and end this part of the interview, and let's go up and take a look at the property, and you can kind of show us around there and give us kind of the overview of what's going on and what your plans are.
Sounds great. Thanks, Mark.
So this is the property. Like I said, there's a little temporary house there for the workers, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so the property here is 1,100 square meters, and this is the right of way. So the property starts here and goes across, and you can see how the property slopes up. That's what we were looking for. We wanted a property from the road to slope up, and that helps with the view. So the view here is great.
Yeah, the view is incredible, guys. Look at that.
But when you go up to where the house is going to be,
It's even better.
the view gets better.
Yeah.
The view doubles. So that was something that, again, when we saw this piece of property, we fell in love with it. So right here is where the driveway will be, and then we'll go straight up into a carport, and then the house will be to the right of the carport. And then the pool, what we did with the pool, when we go up onto the property, you'll see we built a rock wall, about 7-8 feet high rock wall. And that is a tiered approach to get the pool up high. Because what we're going for is the infinity look.
Oh yeah, that's nice, yeah.
The ocean. So it'll make sense when you go up there. And then you can see that we have an opening in the fence where we're going to have steps, because my wife wanted some green space for a garden. So the front of the property, you can see where the dirt is here. That's where the fence will be. And then we put 7 rocks across the front of the property, in front of the fence. 7 rocks for good luck.
Oh.
And that's what we did in New York when we built our house in New York. We put 7 rocks in the front of the house for good luck.
And it worked?
I'm here. But yeah, you'll see that there's a rock wall, and then it transitions to the pool. And then right after the pool will be the home.
Have you ever heard of feng shui?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
you guys got the ocean there and the mountains behind you. That should be good feng shui.
Stress-free living.
Yeah, stress-free living.
Right? You promised that on your YouTube channel if I moved here, I'd have stress-free living. So I'm holding you to it.
And so construction-wise in America, it's like stick and wood and things like that. And here it's almost all these, they call them hollow blocks, these blocks right here.
Yeah, in the U.S. they call it stick built.
Yeah.
So it's basically 2x4s, 2x6s, right?
Yeah.
And then you know, wooden trusses. Here, basically, there's no wood in the house. Actually, the only wood that's going to be in the house is the doors. And it's the inside doors. Even the outside doors will be aluminum wrapped vinyl, sliding doors, so we get the real good view. The front of the home, from the master bedroom to the living room to the kitchen, all the way across is going to be solid glass panels all the way up. And that is so we can take advantage of.
Now, which way is east and west?
East is this way.
Okay, so the sun's
so
going
we
to.
get a sunrise.
All right.
And believe it or not, Mark, I didn't mention when we talked before. You know, one of the things that we wanted was a sunset or a sunrise. And you're only going to get that obviously if your house is facing east or west.
You don't think that's going to make it really hot inside with the all glass front and the sun coming up in the east?
Good point. The answer is we'll have aircon, but also the glass is going to be tinted.
Okay.
And that was something that we talked to the contractor with, and it's going to be reflective glass.
Okay.
So that's going to help with that.
All right. Well.
So this trench here is where the front fence will go. It'll be concrete with.
So it's a wall. It's not a fence, right? It's a wall, or is it
It'll
a
be a
fence?
concrete wall, and then it will be so we can see through. It'll be on the top of it. Will be all steel.
Okay.
So you'll be able to see through it. The walls on the side and the back will be solid concrete, but here we didn't want to obstruct any view at all.
Oh yeah, of course
So
not.
it's all going to be steel, so we can see through it.
Use a lot of rebar, huh?
We get shipments every day. So
Wow.
these are the columns that they're building. This is columns for the fence that they're working
So
on.
these will all be filled with cement then, right?
Correct. Yeah, these square ones are for the footings, and then the long ones are for the columns for the fence.
And this long steel girder is what's going to be supporting the
house. We wanted the Western style, American modern, bungalow type. So this is going to be a complete open concept. The living room, dining room, and kitchen is one big room in the center of the house. So to achieve that, we need real big thick beams and these trusses to hold the weight of the roof.
right. Looks like there was a lot of rocks on this property, huh?
More than we wanted. We made a decision early on that we needed to get an excavator on site, and that was an added cost, so that's a consideration for anyone who's buying property. Take a look at it and see how many rocks you think there will be. Obviously there's surface rocks and then there's rocks underground, but we wanted to build a rock wall transitioning the garden, which is this lower space, transition up to the pool. So we wanted rocks, but this is just a small fraction of what actually was on the property. So we had to actually have an excavator come in, remove the rocks. And luckily there's a big ravine not too far from here, and we took those rocks and put them down into the ravine to get them off the property.
Wonder what kind of rocks they are, if they're like sandstone or granite or
I believe they call it quartzite.
quartzite, okay.
Yeah, it's a very hard rock, as we found out. The excavator struggled. They're extremely heavy. Now we're going to power wash all this. This is the way the rocks came out of the earth. So they're obviously been in the earth for millions of years, right? So we're going to clean up. But if you look at the rocks, and we did look at some of them, they're pink, they're green, they're blue. They're very beautiful rocks. So once we get this power washed, we really think the rock wall is going to look even better than it does now. So this is raw out of the ground.
So this is your swimming pool, huh?
Yeah, so this has transitions up. We're building this, we're building it up here and having the infinity look. So take a look out at the ocean right now. See, the view is getting better.
Yeah.
As you go up, the view gets better and better. So this is where the pool will be. And if you can see this white line right here,
Yeah.
that will be the level of the pool.
Wow.
It's going to be very high, and this will be filled in with dirt. So when you swim up to this side of the pool, you'll have nothing but ocean view.
I noticed that in the construction here in the Philippines, like everything's done by hand. Like they're mixing the concrete by hand. They're taking this pool. I know the excavator did most of the work, but now all the finishing touches they're all doing with shovels and picks and by hand.
Absolutely amazing how much physical labor goes into building a house.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew just by watching videos of home building in the Philippines, but these guys are doing all this work. Now we do have 2 cement mixers on site, and so that helps. They have their certain mix that they keep these machines going to keep the guys going, laying the block. They're working on the footings now for the pool. So they do have 2 cement mixers, so at least they're not mixing the cement by hand.
Which you do see a lot in the
You
Philippines.
see a lot of that, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's inconsistent,
Right.
So the mixer makes it more consistent. So it's a better, stronger concrete. But yeah, I mean, these guys here are all doing everything the old-fashioned way by hand.
It seems like everybody knows what they're doing. Nobody's, telling anybody what to do. They just kind of get on with it, and they all seem to know exactly what their job is. And
yeah, well, the owner of the construction company's here every day, and then there's a foreman on site. And then once we get going with the pool, we'll have 2 foremen on site. So there'll be 1 foreman watching over the house, 1 foreman watching over the pool. And these guys know what they're doing. The foreman here, his name is Gary, and I was talking to him the other day, and he's built 35 homes here in Negros.
wow.
So he has a wealth of experience.
Now, will the pool be finished before the house?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mark. Yeah, the answer is yes. The pool is going to take about 2 months.
Okay.
So yeah, the pool will be done first, which is a good thing because we need to fill it with water. And I would only assume that running the water in a pool this size is going to take some time. I have no idea how long it will take. But
Well, how about the pump and filter? Will all that also be hooked up too? And
yeah, we'll have the water is already on site, but we'll have a storage tank of 1,500 liters.
wow,
And then we'll have a pressure tank, so we have proper pressure in the house.
interesting. Oh,
Take a walk
Yeah.
up and see the house. Now guys, keep in mind that this is day 11.
day 11. Look how much work has been done.
So the house itself is 13.5 meters wide and 12.5 meters deep.
Okay.
So Mark, the house here itself is 13.5 meters wide and 12.5 meters deep. It's going to be an American modern style bungalow. And the center here, the center of the house, this will be the living room, dining room, and kitchen. And then the left side of the home, this is the master bedroom, walk-in closet, and master bathroom. So this whole side is all master. And then the spare rooms we purposely put on the other side, just for privacy when we have visitors. So there'll be 2 smaller bedrooms with a Jack and Jill bath. So a very simple home.
Do we have a bathtub in here?
No bathtub.
No bathtub?
No. My wife would not have a house with a bathtub. She
Really?
likes showers, walk-in showers.
Huh.
But that side of the house will be a pergola. So that'll go off, extend out to the property line and go back about 5 meters, so we'll have a pergola. And then to the left here of the house will be the carport. The carport will be 3.5 meters by 12.5 meters, which is way bigger than we need. But we're doing that for like fiesta parties and things like that. We'll have a nice area that's under roof.
Nice.
Very simple design.
What kind of roof will it have?
It'll have a flat style roof because it's a modern style house. So the all beams across the front with glass, and it will pitch backwards. So no gutters on the house, except for the back.
Okay.
So all the rainwater will go channel to the back, and then it will all channel to the corner, and then it will drain out.
Well, what we'll do is we'll check back with you in a couple of weeks and see how much progress has been made. And then, of course, you have your own YouTube channel now, and you're going to be doing a day-to-day documentation of the building of the house. And what's the name of your channel? I'll be putting a link to it in this video.
Yeah, we just started a YouTube channel. It's about building our dream home here in Darwin. It's named Building the Philippines with Greg and Wilma.
And there'll be a link to it in the description of this video, so check that out and follow along. And that'll be the detailed day-to-day, everything that's going on, much more than you see in this video.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I appreciate it very much.
My pleasure.